All right, friends, it's Timon. We're back with a Blaha video. We're going to react to the Gym Lifting Recruiting Fitness Gear Slaves new video he posted. So in this video, Blaha says, and man, I think he's just posting the same videos over and over again. I think he's just reposting. At this point, it seems that way because if you look at these videos, the last three he posted, man, it's exactly the same. He's done it before. Progressive overload is the only way to gain muscle as a natural lifter. How many times has he already said that? I've done already, I think, 4 videos on this already. Progressive overload is not the way to build muscle. Progressive overload itself does not build a muscle. The only way to build muscle is if protein synthesis exceeds protein breakdown, if you're in positive nitrogen balance. That's all.
Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, representing Jason Blaha.
It is.
Strength and
It's Jason Blaha.
Fitness, and progressive overload is the only way you are going to gain muscle as a drug-free lifter. Flat out, full.
Only way you're going to gain muscle as a drug-free lifter is if protein synthesis outpaces protein breakdown. You being in an anabolic growth state. That is the only way.
All right, a quick reminder though, if you guys will please click like down below, be greatly appreciated. If you're not subscribed or following, please do so. If you'll be kind.
It's because you're a lazy eater. So you want to take steroids and you think steroids are going to build a muscle because I'm anabolic because I took hormones. They're going to make me magically anabolic. So in the natural world, you have to be anabolic too. You got to be anabolic. How are you anabolic? When protein synthesis outpaces protein breakdown. When you're in positive nitrogen balance, more nitrogen is coming in than is going out. That's how you're anabolic. Get it?
If to drop me a comment down below, I'd appreciate it.
The only way you're going to build muscle is if you're anabolic. If you're catabolic, you're not going to build muscle. You got to be anabolic.
So much. Thank you. Let's get over to the
And it has to be for a long period of time. It has to be persistent.
topic. Obviously, guys, I'm almost 50 years old. I've been around this game a really long
He's almost 50 already. Oh my God.
time, coached a long time, lifted a long time. And before we even go into any discussion of science, let's just be clear. I have never, ever in my entire life met someone who was natural, even a bodybuilder, who had any appreciable, like legitimately solid amount of muscle mass.
I did. And I still do. But I did. Because I built myofibrillar growth. Because that's what I trained for myofibrillar growth. I don't know what other people train for out there. They could pretend train, but that doesn't mean you're training for myofibrillar growth. Pretending you are.
Who was not really strong. Okay, that has been my lifelong experience. I can't think of a single.
Oh yeah, I could definitely tell you I was really strong. That was the idea, to find out how strong physically you can be by building more myofibrillar growth. How strong physically can you be? See what I mean?
Exception. And it makes sense because progressive overload is the pathway by which you're going to gain muscle. And I think when people hear all this...
No, it's not. When you're in positive nitrogen balance, that's when you're going to gain appreciable muscle.
Other stuff, I think, that they're forgetting.
In other words, when you're anabolic. He's just, look at him. He's just small. He's so small. At this point, he looks like he's becoming anorexic.
Talking about guys on drugs, usually guys on pretty significant amounts of drugs, not just a little bit. When they start talking about, well, time under tension and creating this type of fatigue and getting a large amount of mind-muscle connection, chasing the pump, drop sets, Okay, well, you have to understand.
Yeah, none of those things work. That's just fitness industry. That's what Blaha does.
Yeah. All of this fatigue and stuff they're oftentimes chasing with a lot of this, or worried about things like continual tension. This is the stuff that's only going to work for people on drugs.
Isn't that what Blaha always says, fatigue? That's only going to work for people on drugs. Everything works for people on drugs. What are you talking about? Anything they do works. You want to know why? You want to know why it works? Because it's a byproduct of taking the drug. Duh. That's why. It's cosmetic. It's temporary and it's cosmetic. That's what it is, because you're taking a drug. Yeah.
because even training volume itself, fatigue does seem to be a big factor. Like if people get on enough drugs, just generating fatigue in muscles is enough to cause serious muscle growth. Like they could do sets of jumping jacks to failure and they're going to gain muscle.
They're not gaining muscle. They're just blowing their muscles up with water. That's all. And some inflammation. That's all. Like Blaha. He's inflaming his muscles every single day in the garage. And then he walks around with inflamed muscles and he shows off to you. But when that inflammation goes down, believe me, you're going to be so shocked how much more skinnier he actually is without this inflammatory response. Got to keep up with the Joneses.
You know, all this stuff is oftentimes these people, a lot of these guys, a lot of
Yeah.
the coaches who are serious pro bodybuilders and things, they're promoting, hey, oh,
Coaches that are serious bodybuilders and things? Okay.
time under tension. That has no meaning.
Hiking gear is designed
They're promoting, hey, oh yeah, time under tension. That has no meaning. Okay, and it's not even a factor in muscle growth. But they swear by it, and it's like, well, this is my secret. And it's like, well, no, you're doing something that's creating a lot of fatigue and volume
It's like
by using lots of drugs. Of course, you're going to get bigger. I mean, you get bigger from the drugs anyways at a certain point. But yeah, but it's not going to work
There
for.
you go. He just admitted it. You're going to get bigger at a certain point taking the drugs. It's a byproduct of the drugs, okay? They're enhanced performing drugs, but they have a byproduct if you start pumping your arms around, like if you start moving things around, like pumping yourself up, especially taking artificial diets. And then taking artificial fucking hormones, you're going to build artificial muscle. Get it?
Someone who's natural, it's going to be meaningless. And if they get bigger from it, it's because they progressively overloaded it over time.
They got big because they progressively overloaded it over time. I've seen people progress. Look, I'm progressively overloading on protein at the buffet. Am I getting bigger? Ask yourself that question. I'm progressively overloading every day. I'm eating shitloads of fucking protein. I'm overloading. Am I getting bigger? No. You understand me? Because that's not what makes you bigger. See what I mean? Progressively overloading a muscle adapted is not going to make you bigger. If you injure the muscle fibers, that would be the catalyst for growth. You have to spark growth factors in the muscle. What are the growth factors? Muscle damage. And then the progenitor cell comes out of quiescence because now it has to do something specific. So it sees this as something bad or dangerous. So they're going to have to reinforce the fibers by making them longer, bigger, stronger, yada, yada, yada. See what I mean? So every time you do something externally, internally to your muscle, it has to adapt to those injuries. Every time they get injured, they have to adapt to those muscle micro tear injuries by doing something. But they're not going to, the only way they adapt to progressively overloading a weight on top of your muscle, adapted like him coming in, I don't know, 6 days a week here, 7 days a week into the garage, they're just going to recruit motor units. That's how that adaptation works, see? When there's no more muscle when there's no muscle adaptations because you're lifting adapted in the gym, then you're getting motor unit adaptations. That's separate. That isn't based on muscle growth.
They progressively overloaded. The pump is not a growth stimulus. The pump can be a good sign of some good stuff going on. It's not a growth.
No, the pump is for every gram of glycogen, 3 grams of water being drawn between skin and muscle into the muscle. That's expanding the sarcoplasm. That's artificial muscle growth again. It doesn't mean you built muscle because you pumped your muscles up like a bicycle pump. But like I said, I'm progressively overloading my muscles with protein. I'm overloading the shit out of them. How come they're not growing? You want to know why they're not going to grow just because I'm overloading it with protein? Because the catalyst for growth is muscle damage. See what I mean? Now, overloading a muscle and doing muscle damage, okay, yeah. You can lift heavier to try to get the deeper, weaker muscle fibers, cause them to micro tear, micro injure, whatever. And that's the catalyst for growth. Now, you progressively overload those muscles with what? With protein. Get it? So, two types of overload you need to do. So, I'm not saying you don't need to overload weights to go heavier to cause muscle damage, but you need to cause the damage. But if you don't cause the damage and you only overload adapted, then that's not the catalyst for growth. The catalyst for growth is muscle damage. Now, so let's say progressively overloading, right? And trying to get these injuries. Now, progressively overloading with food to build the muscles. Get it? Yeah.
Stimulus, drop sets, stuff like that, right? All these force rep for people who are not on drugs, those don't have a growth stimulus either. And again, stuff I've pointed out with a lot of data.
They don't have a growth stimulus. What they have is a window for protein breakdown and a window that they open for protein synthesis. Now, are you synthesizing protein? Are you synthesizing enough protein? Are you eating enough protein to synthesize? See what I mean?
Yeah, with looking at how muscle fiber recruitment and growth works, it makes sense.
It makes sense. How does it work?
Someone who's been training a little while, they're not on any anabolic substances.
I'm not on any anabolic substances, but you can be anabolic eating.
It's like drop sets, and I mean quick drop sets where it's like, oh, we're using whatever, 100 pounds. We go to failure, go to 80 pounds, go to failure, like immediate short breaks. I can tell you right now, not going to cause any muscle growth at all. For people who have already finished their noob gains and they're not chemically.
Finish their noob gains? What do you mean finish your noob gains? There's no such thing. You don't finish a noob gain. What's he talking about?
Enhance, okay? Because it's not getting back to the upper threshold muscle fibers again. The ones that grow is just hitting a bunch of intermediate fibers again, which can grow from drugs, right? Drugs will continue to make.
How do they grow? Just magically grow out of thin air? What are you talking about? Muscles, they don't just grow. Just because you're on a monkey bar or some shit, dude. What are you talking about?
Those grow. But people who are in a normal hormone range, they've been training a year or two. That stuff mostly stops growing. You only are going to get there with the fastest twitch fibers, and those can't be recruited.
But why does it stop growing?
In like 30 seconds after
How do muscles grow exactly?
fatigue, it won't work. They will not reactivate. So really what we're looking at.
The problem with this guy is so stubborn. That's why he's never going to grow muscle. He just doesn't get it, man. To cause micro tears to the muscle fiber, the catalyst for growth, I told you before, the formula is untrained, unfamiliar forms, unaccustomed exercise, unfamiliar forms, untrained muscles, and eccentric exercise. And eccentric exercise, when it's tied into unaccustomed, unfamiliar, and untrained, it will cause this damage. Okay, dude? Yeah. Always.
Progressive overload. Now, should this.
The eccentric part of that exercise will cause that damage. Now, how you go about doing that eccentric exercise is up to you. I don't know how you're going to achieve it. Now, if you're doing concentric eccentric, good luck. If you're doing full range of motion, well, yeah, you're going to have to work hard at it. Now, if you're doing eccentric concentric, well then, yeah, you're definitely going to get a lot more out of it for sure than the full range of motion, because that would be medium and then there would be very little at the top.
That's be hard, of course. So when you say progressive overload, I'm assuming you're doing fairly hard work. And eventually you'd get, I mean, hypothetically, if you kept stopping way short of failure, but you kept adding weight, eventually you would start getting hard work in. Right?
Yeah.
But when we say progressive overload,
Okay.
I don't mean cheating.
It doesn't
Right.
mean cheating.
When we talk about adding weight or adding reps, we don't mean through any means necessary. It doesn't mean, well, I started bouncing the bar off my chest. I started half repping it. Yeah, none of that's going to do anything. In fact,
Okay.
I'll go so far as to say that if you reach muscle failure,
Yeah.
you start doing half reps, just trying to get a deeper burn. It's not going to do anything.
A deeper burn, it's not going to do anything. If you do half reps, it's not going to do anything. If you're unaccustomed, unfamiliar, and untrained, eccentric exercise, you're going to get something out of it. See, that's what science says. That is the catalyst for growth. What is the catalyst for growth? Let's find out, man. All right. Hold on. So let's see what it says here. I don't know. I don't really care what it says, but okay. It says no, micro tears are not the catalyst for muscle growth. Mechanical tension is the primary driver with what? With micro damage being a secondary or even negligible factor. Well, yeah, I mean, they say that in science. It depends on how you're asking AI. It can come up with so many things that says yes, no, this, that. I don't really personally care. I'm just showing you what it says. I don't really care. If you're asking me, without a micro tear, the satellite cell will not wake up out of quiescence. You understand me? Split, divide, and increase the number. Mechanical tension, does it activate the satellite cell or micro damage? See what I mean? Well, I've popped this one up before, I think. I don't know. Look what it tells you in AI. Mechanical tension, not micro tears alone. See, not micro tears alone. Mechanical tension. We know what mechanical tension is. Weights. Weights. You're moving. It's a mechanical tension to move your arm up and down with a weight in your arm. That's a mechanical tension. When your arm is moving up and down, right? It causes a micro tear. We know that. But the catalyst for activating the satellite cell is the damage. Get it? Is the primary activator of satellite cells. It's the primary activator. See that? Which then contribute to what? Muscle hypertrophy by adding nuclei to existing myofibrils, leading to an increase in the myofibrillar protein, and sarcomeres in parallel. Yeah, and in series, in parallel and series. While microtears can trigger repair and regeneration, see, while they can trigger repair and regeneration through satellite cell activation, sustained mechanical tension is the essential stimulus. I know that. It has to be sustained. In other words, you have to do multiple repetitions. That's mechanical tension. The multiple repetitions, when you move your arm up and down, causes the micro tear in the muscle. But without the micro tear, but if you move your arm, mechanical tension, and you don't get any micro tears, you're not going to get any growth. So it is the catalyst for growth, man. Activation, contribute to growth, mechanical, whatever, see? Anyways, let's go back to the video. This is boring me.
Not for the drug-free guy. Those are wasted reps. Okay, wasted reps. Because we're
Wasted
back over
reps.
to you're taking out tension. So don't mean reducing weight. Or we don't mean reducing range of motion. We don't mean bouncing. We don't mean more cheating with progressive overload. We mean while maintaining the same range of motion, hopefully a close to full range of motion,
Okay, whatever.
Introducing
right? Maintaining the same range of motion, the same form.
Whoa,
So if you were
yeah,
using a
yeah,
little bit
yeah,
of cheat or
yeah.
body English or leg drive, using the same amount
Holy mackerel.
and adding weight over time, or adding reps, but you're not going to add reps indefinitely. It's going to come a point where it's like, look, you're going to need to start adding some weight to the bar or the machine or whatever you're doing. Your weighted pull-up, you're going to have more plates over time.
Not
Right, progressive
necessarily.
overload. And the reason for that is that you have to disrupt that homeostasis in a muscle. All right, gaining
You have to disrupt that homeostasis. You have to lift weights, right? Repetitive repetitions and sets, which is called mechanical tension, and then you get these micro damages in there. But they don't just happen every day and often or whatever. It's specific.
muscle for humans. We're very resistant to gaining muscle. There's all these discussions of myostatin, and no, I don't think we should be messing with myostatin inhibitors.
Muscle growth happens rapidly because you need to be consistent, and when protein needs to exceed breakdown. You need to be consistent in that. If you're not consistent, there's not going to be any growth. It'd be a waste of time, man.
Drugs, a lot of this is there for a reason, is to keep us from gaining muscle that we don't need to gain, because it keeps us alive during famines and ice ages.
Keeps us from gaining muscle to be gaining. Yeah, that's why you have to injure the muscle fibers. Get it? That's the catalyst to activate everything, the growth factors. Yeah. And then what grows them? Protein synthesis does. Protein builds them.
It keeps us from starving to death and not have too much muscle. So
Starving
humans
to
as a
death?
species are pretty resistant to gaining
Keeps
muscle.
you from starving to death, having too much muscle? No, not really. No. No, it doesn't. Protein synthesis needs to outpace protein breakdown. Staying in a positive nitrogen balance, that means you should be eating just your animal-based diet and not eating anything else that's confusing it, like these anti-nutrients.
Our body only gains it when it has a physical need to where it sees as a safety concern. Man, that is really
Yeah, a safety concern. Eccentric exercise, right? And doing exercises that you're unaccustomed, unfamiliar, and untrained doing. Basically, yeah.
subjecting that muscle to some tension repeatedly. Those muscle fibers, I'm going to have to make them thicker to accommodate it if it's chronic over time. But that tension is
If you're chronic over time, causing these micro tears, then that's what it's going to do. Yeah. And if it's chronic over time, you're overloading protein synthesis, is outpacing protein breakdown, then definitely growth is going to happen for sure.
isn't just weight. We do need to be clear. It increases mechanical tension and progressive overload, in muscles if you're able to add reps also. So again, if you have a weight you can only do 8 reps with, but using that
Yeah, and those reps will also translate to causing micro tears. The one thing that he keeps leaving out, muscle damage. You're going to damage muscle fibers, the catalyst for growth.
same form you build to 9 to 10 to 11, that will increase mechanical tension on a lot of the muscle fibers also, because that's what we're looking at. That tension gets increased on those fibers when the other ones are too fatigued to do it. So again, that's how we apply mechanical tension also, is to take sets really close to failure while you still have muscle fibers that haven't been recruited. That
We
way,
take it to failure, so we're adapted. So we're adapted lifting. So we're going to try to take the sets to failure, and that will cause them to fatigue, right? We'll take them to failure like a marathon runner. We'll marathon run. We won't sprint, which bodybuilding is a sprint, right? We'll marathon. We'll be endurance athletes. We'll work till failure. Get it? Yeah. And that way, we can open more of a window for glycogen synthesis. So now we're absorbing more glycogen because we're working to failure as endurance athletes. And what are they known for? Glycogen synthesis, yeah. And now we have pumped up muscles, great, like a bicycle pump.
put more mechanical tension on those fibers, right? They'll be recruited, they'll have tension placed on them, they'll grow. But again, you have to take it to where your body is doing more work. If it doesn't feel the need to grow the muscles to keep you from tearing it or to keep you from getting hurt, your body is probably going to not gain muscle. And it's just the way you
Yeah, from being torn or from being damaged or whatever, it's going to, yeah. Yeah, that's how it protects you, by building muscle. Yeah.
are built. So again, that's why you have to go harder. You have to basically, any muscle that you want to grow without drugs, you're going to have to work it harder and harder. Notice I didn't say more and more.
Without drugs, you're going to have to work it harder and harder. It gets easier and easier to work your muscle to get these micro damages if you're in an anabolic growth state. So if protein synthesis exceeds protein breakdown, you're anabolic the whole time. So that makes it a lot easier for you to damage these muscles and build them bigger and stronger. Way easier.
You're going to have to work it harder, meaning you can't just add more and more sets. That's not going to work either without drugs. You're going to have to
That's not going to work without drugs, see? So what's the point of lifting? Blah's telling you you're never going to build muscle and you need drugs and all this. So what is the point of lifting?
increase the load on a set-to-set basis that it is subjected to, either with more straight.
But he says you reached newbie gains, so it's time to get, you've maxed out your newbie gains, time to get what? Time to take drugs. I don't know, whatever.
Tension, weight tension for more weight, or by adding more repetitions with the same amount of weight through the same range of motion,
Have no clue.
putting more tension on the muscle. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative. And
More tension on the muscle. I'll see you in the next one, friends.